All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another finals match for Dynascape's Intermediate Cup, and also the final regular match of the weekend. This is the last one. It is Catyum Dogyum C3 versus Timor-Leste. They're battling it out for one more shot at the grand finals, but to do that, they have to get through each other first. My name is Dynascape, and today I am joined by Nightcore. Nightcore, how are we doing?
Good day, Dynascape. I am doing pretty well. It is fairly late for me, but it doesn't stop me from having a great shot of commentary yet again in the booth this weekend.
For sure. So here we have, two very interesting teams. Catyum Dogyum stomped to the ground by Seed 2 last week. And then, of course, Timor-Leste having that Cinderella story, the last non-standard seed in the top 6 at seed 12, definitely pushing above their weight, made some big waves. How do you think this is going to go down?
Honestly, I could see it going down for either side, honestly. Judging up by the stats, it seems that both teams are fairly well balanced, especially when it comes into more the hybrid and LN picks. But about Rice, I'm not too sure as well. So we're just going to have to see. I definitely think it's just going to be more on whether teams are fairly comfortable with each pick.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, just looking at last week's stats, it seemed like the only two maps that both these two shared in common, at least during their matches, were LN3 and 4. And for those picks, at least, Catyum would have won one, Timor-Leste would have won one. So seems at least pretty tied in LN, and I'd say I think some of the players on Catyum at least scale a bit better in terms of Rice. But enough of that for now. Let's get into this first pick. Catyum winning that role, getting that first pick, goes to opt for Pogo, the speed, the single streams of the round.
Yep, we're heading into Rice 2, Pogo. Pogo. I have no idea. The text is too small. So as you did say, this is going to be kind of the streamy pick. Again, now we're heading into the finals territory, whereas we're kicking up the speed a bit and the density as well.
Yeah, and I think not only just like the speed, but rather the. I think I said this during showcase. Honestly, for this map, a lot of the difficulty comes from the varying snaps. You have to minimize your 300s, and honestly, at this point of the tournament, 200s are a big deal. Falling behind in terms of streams because you lack the physicality, or over-rushing because you overcompensate. That's a big deal when it comes to very straightforward picks like this. So, I mean, when you're picking Pogo, you do have to make sure that you are very much capable of FCing it, and not only that, dealing with the various snaps. 'Cause it's not something simple like straight 1-6 or straight 1-8s or anything like that. It's just all of the time the snaps change on this map, and it's just such a tough thing to deal with. You'll find yourself dropping a lot of 300s, more than usual on most other stream picks.
Yep, especially with the map clocking in at 150 BPM as well. Oh, and Riven Boy finding the early drop, but it is very early into the map, so I don't think anything too substantial will be seen unless, again, all the other players do keep the consistency and drop very minimal 200s.
Yeah, definitely a tough start going in for Rhythm Boy, but Jukumu is doing well to hold up at least their end of the score. On the other side of the playing field, we have Drew the Master and Sidger, still both at those FCs. Both of them kind of in between in terms of accuracy, except for Drew Master, who actually drops, and Jukumu as well. It seems like they can't keep up for some reason. I thought they did really, really well, put up some monster scores last round in terms of Rice, but doesn't seem like they skilled as well as I thought they would into the finals map. Well, that extra increase in difficulty does seem to be catching them out, and for it, Timor-Leste will be rewarded with about 20,000 points to their name.
Yeah, massive lead towards Timor-Leste as Judge Mo does also find that additional drop. It's going to be fairly hard for them to catch up with that 34k point difference. Even them, that double 99, still the double miss from both Timor-Leste is still going to keep onto that. Might give a bit of breathing room back for Catyum to manage to bring the difference a bit smaller again. So we're just going to have to see as we get approach the final quarter of the map.
Yeah, hopefully Catyum can make something of a comeback because Sajid did drop again. No one has combo on the side of Timor-Leste, whereas Katyum has been doing well to keep up. Drew the Master drops again, so it's gonna eke down that score just a little bit, only less than 5,000 points. It's changing really quickly at the last moment, and Sider finally drops. The score turns red. Jugamu drops at the end and twice added. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Katyum, how did they pull that off? Up to a 25,000 point lead in the back half for Timor-Leste, but the stamina drain really just catching them out, and Katyum narrowly escapes the jaws of defeat on that map.
Wow. Well, I don't really know what to say, honestly. See, it's not an easy map at all, especially when you have the other factors. As you did say, the weird snapping, the nerves. I'm pretty sure this was featured in another tournament. Was it Double Shift? Or was it IRL?
Yeah, it was IRL.
Yeah. Again, IRL map pool, even on base rate, is still not that easy. So good job for all players for getting scores like that.
Well, for sure. Those were some really crazy scores when you think about it. You know, a couple misses here and there, but really as much as you can ask for in a tournament setting. Everyone did super well, and obviously it was a very close match. Katyum picking up that Rice point, kind of have to be scared about some of their other ones because it seemed like that was their game plan, whereas Timor-Leste going ahead to pick LN4, definitely opting to go for the less physical picks, especially starting off with Hoso Shitsu. It's probably one of the easier maps physically and compared to the other LNs, but still very tough to act, I'd say.
Yeah, typically just as most LN style fashion, especially kind of more in the later one, although not as physical. We have seen what Timor-Leste are capable of when playing LN maps, especially as we've seen from last week, where they have managed to get the edge on advantage against Katyum. So I definitely think this pick will be more in towards their favor. Again, anything can still happen, really.
For sure. I mean, blue team, this is their protect, so you'd have to hope that they can not only pull off FCs, but ones with really good accuracy. So that's what I'm going to be looking for here from Prongle and Siger. Chris is going to be subbed in instead of Rhythm Boy for the Olympics. I think that's going to be the usual lineups for each of these teams. And so, making use of all of your teammates is always a boon to have, especially when you have 3 people on the team. That's the whole reason there's this format. So starting off this map, red team light lead, but that's only because of a couple drops from Prongle, a couple 200s. We saw them last week. Seemed like they were kind of the supporting character for Siger, and so gonna be looking for that here again, where you want them to have that FC most importantly, but also try to minimize the 200s as much as possible.
Yep, and as we did kick off the intro, accuracy does favor again towards Timor-Leste. It seems that they are fairly comfortable on a lot of these releases, fairly tough releases overall. A couple of staggers, kind of having the entire thing. Chris unfortunately finding a drop there, which is gonna give the lead shifting towards more Timor-Leste. A couple of 200s again drop from all sides actually, but it's just it's just a higher accuracy overall on Timor-Leste and the higher combo as well.
Thankfully, Chris's drop was very clean. I mean, still keeping up with Siger despite the miss, whereas Jugumo and Prongle battling it out in the top half of the screen. It seems like Jugumo is winning out by just a little bit, so you'd have to imagine if Chris didn't drop, it'd probably be around either break even or the slightest of leads for Katyum. So not out of this map just yet. We got out of that first verse. We're now entering the back half, and the lead's cut down to less than 1,000 points already, getting into that second course.
Yep, seems that the score is actually flickering. It's actually going back towards Katyum as Chris managed to get back up to that max combo count. It's more of a clean miss overall as well. Accuracy still leading towards Katyum as Prongle's slightly a bit behind with the 98.7. So again, the scores are still very close. Still flickering as well. actually very tight again right now.
I mean, can we talk about Chris dropping in the early portion of the map, but still having basically the best accuracy, only shadowed by Sajer by just a little bit? That's such an amazing rebound from them. For Jugumu to slightly beat out Prongle as well, definitely doing wonders in terms of keeping it at least close. 3,000 points over for Timor-Leste, but I mean, anything can happen in this last portion. Jugumu has been doing well to beat Prongle. Chris keeping very steady. A miss could change it all in this last section, and it's no sweat at all, especially some of these jacks that are handed to you in the back half.
Yep, again, not very physical. And with just not much map left, it does seem like Timor-Leste are going to be capitalizing off their protect, managing to snag their point if nothing substantial happens. Nope, I was right. So it does look like Timor-Leste are going to be snagging their first point as well, equalizing off the start as well.
Yeah, it seems like Jugumu beat Prongle by about 4,000 points. Chris losing to Sajer by about 5,000, 5.5. So definitely with that miss from Chris, it would have changed things tremendously. I believe just looking at it, doing the napkin math, Katyum would have won if Chris didn't miss. So very unfortunate by them, but hopefully they can really reel in their consistency because, I mean, I think I talked about this a lot last week. Prongle and Sizer are just really consistent. That's why they were able to pull off so many upsets.
Yep, Katyum kind of having to up the consistency a bit as well. So we're just gonna have to see what they're gonna pick next. So they're gonna jump into Rise 5, which is gonna be no ceiling. This is the vocal dump one, if I'm correct, no?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a very vocal dumpy. The difficulty really only comes in the back half, but it's a lot of like you start on a double and then hit a trill afterwards, or you start on a 3-note chord and then hit a trill. So super fast, I believe. I want to say they're 12ths as well, or something like that. So I mean, the trills are very, very fast. That's what I'm trying to say. So I mean, definitely have to watch out because I think a lot of the maps left in the Rice pool are similar enough to this map. So if you can win on this one, you can definitely branch out into a lot of other picks in the pool.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with a pick like this. Fairly bursty as well. Not really long, so it's just going to be more of a consistency game. Again, I definitely do think that it can go in favor for both teams. Riffin Boy, again, getting subbed in for Chris? Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah. Again, I do think there's gonna be a race lineup as well. So it does look like Judgment and Riffin Boy are gonna be taking the race department for Katyum.
Yeah, and then for Timor-Leste, we get Drew back in here. So four very, very capable players when it comes to Rice. But unlike Pogo, this is a whole different beast. So we're going to have to see. It's very, very short. Misses could be everything. Expect to find a lot of them, as I said, in that back half of the map. So, this first part, very vocal dumpy, lots of flams and graces, just to kind of deter the accuracy as much as possible in pretty much the first opening 800 notes or so. And we're going to have to see who builds up a bit of a lead with that.
Nothing really too substantial from the intro. Again, it's gonna give you a brief taste on what's gonna be next bit, but you just gotta watch out on these these flams as well. As again, even some 200s on some of these bursts, might twist away over. Yeah, and Riffin Boy dropping a couple as well. Also Judgment. Just gotta be watching out on some of these lighter bursts as we in the front end of the map.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that Drew and Sajer are basically together in accuracy, and then the same could be said for Jugumu and Rhythm Boy. Both players on Timor-Leste hanging around 99.6 for Katyum, slightly lower at 99.4, and that's really leading to Timor-Leste, like I said, building up that lead by just a little bit, about 6,000 points, going in with a pretty nice cushion, especially with Jugumu missing in that transition into the break section.
Yep. This miss Oh, and actually getting a double miss as well. So here we are. As you did say, kicking off into the backhand, which is going to be the hard bit in the map. It does look like Judgment isn't really able to keep up with some of these bursts. Dream Master also finding a drop near the end. I don't know if it's going to be doing much, again, as it was more clean compared to Katyum. Actually, with that double drop, I still don't know.
I mean, it's super tough to tell, but Timor-Leste have enough of a lead where I'd, probably feel safe about it, especially with Jugumo missing in the last basically 50 notes. We're not going to get a repeat of Pogo where Katyum really take the win and rob it out of broad daylight. Timor-Leste going to lock in the first break point of the match.
Yep. You kind of gotta admit, even though it was Katyum's protect, you still kind of gotta admire the consistency of Timor-Leste. See, that's kind of the red flag on picking some of the harder maps. As just with Timor-Leste consistency overall, it can be fairly hard to make a comeback, especially if you do find a couple of drops.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, especially when the map is as spiky as it is as well. So Katyum kind of has to go back to the drawing board and think about what they're gonna have to pick into for their next choice. They do have still their protective hybrid 2, so that might be a very interesting thing for them to go into later. But Timor-Leste rocketing off the LN1 pick immediately, so we're gonna see some release action here.
Yep. Pretty much one of the longer ones as well. Just gonna have to be keeping, well, release consistency, honestly, and again with the stamina aspect as well. Fairly well pick, I would say, from Timor-Leste, especially how they're capable of on more the release department. Again, we are seeing our typical lineups for both teams. Chris is going to be getting subbed in for. Oh my bad, I forgot again.
Rhythm Boy.
Yep, Rhythm Boy, and it does look like Prongle is going to be getting subbed in for Drew. The typical LN lineup. So yep, here we go, kicking off.
Pretty long map, unlike the last one. This one clocking in about just over 3 minutes, and of pure releases as well. So just one of those maps that batters down the accuracy as time goes by. And honestly, it seems like Prongle's not having the best start available to them. Jugumu and Chris keeping up just a slight bit of a lead. It seems like for this map at least, it's gonna be Chris versus Sizer and Jugumu versus Prongle. And I mean, when this map just has enough schlongs to be super constant, and then you get into the staggered releases on the chorus, I think those are when you're gonna see the big score swings on the map.
Yep. So again, with the 3 minutes as well, it could start to it's probably a smaller chance, but I do think it has a chance of having some wear on your fingers on some of the releases. Especially now, Prongle kind of struggling to keep up with some of the releases, dropping a bunch of 200s, along with Chris. As you did say, it's more going to be more of a 1v1 against 2 players and 1v1 against the other players as well. Actually, still favors Timor-Leste though, as Judgmu is finding some 200s on some of those releases as well. Only seeing a 2-99 right now.
Yeah, Chris slightly being out by Sizer, Jugumu slightly being out by Prongle. We just passed through that first course like I talked about, and it's super crucial in seeing who can really keep up when it comes to just super constant releases. And here we go into the second one. Jugumu dropping a lot more 200s than Prongle currently, as well as a miss. They finally break down, especially with the basically inverse jacks. So Timor-Leste over 10,000 points of a lead seems pretty comfy, and this is more of a consistency check of a map too. So I don't think there's really a lot of time, except if Timor-Leste double breaks like that.
Yeah, it might potentially find a lean back towards Katyum, as they do have the combo advantage right now, but with just the accuracy overall being a bit greater on actually no, they actually is actually pretty equal. I mean, it is slightly it's slightly towards Timor-Leste's favor, but now we're kicking into the final hard part of the map, which is going to be, again, kind of like the first two drops. Again, with the fairly tough, even I would say inverse as well. So that you're finding that extra miss as well, not really going to help the oncoming lead back towards Katyum. It is starting to flicker towards it as Prongle does find that extra drop.
Oh
And not
no. That's 4 unanswered drops. Jugumo finally trading it back twice as well. So lead swinging over to Timor-Leste as the map tries to close out. Last couple of notes, and Jugumo again just taking a lot of bad judgments. 3,000 points for Timor-Leste, and I think they're gonna seal it. Yeah, they will. Not the prettiest map in terms of a win, but Timor-Leste is gonna take it from Katyum, going up 3-1. I mean, you see the accuracies. It got really, really close. Chris, the Oli FC, beat Outsider by about 5,000 points, but unfortunately, Jumo taking a slew of misses. I mean, I can't really blame them. In the last course, the density changes just a little bit, and I think there's a bit of rice involved as well. But it's just that little increase in difficulty in that last section really hurt Jugmo and Team Cat Yum, and that's why they lost.
Yep. So with Timor-Leste with the 3-1 lead right now, that giving them a bit of an advantage, but it is still anyone's game really. I definitely think Cat Young should probably stay a bit away more from the physical side, especially with the physical consistency of Timor-Leste. Um, could potentially go for. Actually, no, they're jumping into Rice 6. Actually,
Huh. Yeah, Rice 6. I mean, this is again very techy, very quick, very physical, kind of like what we saw with Rice 5 earlier. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how Jukumu and Rhythm Boy deal with this map, because considering that they lost on no ceiling by about 25,000 points, you'd have to imagine they're not the most confident coming into this map. For all of the other maps, they've been very close. Pogo was won by 428, and Hoso Shitsu and Back to the City were lost by only about 2,000 points. So I'd have to think that there are better maps available for them in the pool.
yeah, I don't know if this pick was the wisest, honestly. Especially that we have seen Timberland's capability with kind of more physical consistency, especially at 1 minute 43 as well. There is not much room for error in this map if you even find a couple of 200s as well. But we're just gonna have to see, honestly. Like with these drills as well, clocking out nearly 144 BPM, you really just have to keep extremely consistent throughout the entire map.
Yeah, 100%. And unlike no ceiling, the difficulty in this isn't spread out, or sorry, portioned out all into one place. It's very much consistently difficult throughout. And Jukumo finding that first drop, thankfully, it's very clean, and Drew will trade it back even more so. So as things kind of even out and we get into a more slow section, Cat Yum climbing in terms of their lead, about 2,000 points for them. But I mean, as we saw, all of these players are not really struggling, but finding breaks in these Rice maps so far, especially Rhythm Boy as well. So Sajir currently the only FC left on the table for Timor-Leste, trying to hold it down for them, trying to get yet another Rice break point.
Yep. It does look like Katyum again are kind of falling a bit behind, especially Judgmo. We're kind of finding those couple of misses along with Riven Boy as we do approach the back map. See, this is kind of what I was on about, honestly. I definitely don't think this was a wise pick, if I'm being 100% honest. But we are seeing drops being traded all around. But with just the accuracy on Timor-Leste, I do think at this point it's going to be going to them with a hefty 27,000 point lead, as there is just not much map left. June Master finding a trade back with Judgmo on misses. I don't think it's going to do anything to change the course of this map. And it does look like Timor-Leste are going to be snagging that unfortunate second breakpoint away from Katyo.
And honestly, silver lining Although it was a 25,000 point lead for Timor-Leste, if you look at the accuracies, they're honestly very close to each other. Rhythm Boy and Drew the Master having pretty much the same amount of misses, as well as accuracy, and then Jugumo slightly falling behind Seiger. But I think it was more the fact that Jugumo and Rhythm Boy caught out very spread out misses compared to Seiger and Drew the Master having them all concentrated into one point, and obviously Sajid having only one miss, it was concentrated onto that one point. So, I again, yeah, maybe it wasn't the wisest pick, but it's not like it went horribly for them. So I don't think that they should really stray away from Rice if it calls to them later on in the match. But I do think that they, for now, need to switch up their plan because, I mean, at the moment, they're down 1-4. They've dropped 2 straight break points. And interestingly enough, Timor-Leste actually choosing Hybrid 2, which was Cat Yum's Protect.
Yeah, this again we're just picking their Protect. Very interesting pick. Could be might be confident in the type of pick like this, which might be a bit scary for Katyum. Again, added on to it, I think Katyum are playing at 7 a.m. right now, if I do remember correctly. So, could be a bit of morning fatigue as well.
Yeah, it is pretty tough to schedule matches like these, just because I think Chris is in Europe, and then Rhythm Boy Jigmu being in Asia, and then I think Seiger's in NA, so it's like everyone from all around the world. So obviously, scheduling is very tough to deal with. Prongle having that first break of the map, not too great in terms of accuracy as well, dropping a lot of 200s, a lot of those being late as well, leading into Team Red having about 12,000 points of a lead.
Yep, fairly quick map, so not much room for error. Again, with kind of a hybrid like this, very bursty, and a couple of scar elements as well, especially with the map length as well. But we're heading into the backhand, where stuff do kind of kick off a bit more. 12k lead towards Katyum right now will definitely help them heading into the backhand of the map, as they do have the advantage.
Yeah, I think in the first half we see a lot of burstier sections, a lot of single streams in transitions in between LNs. But in this back half, we'll see a lot of jacks, and Prongle was struggling in terms of speed accuracy. We'll have to see if they do well in terms of these jacks, but it doesn't seem so. Dropping down to about 98.6. Everyone's still holding on to their combos. The bear miss only being on Prongle's name, and Katyum looking very good. If they can just hit this last jack section, Seiger cannot, and Katyum's looking really good to close out this match in dominating fashion. You have to wonder, why did Timor-Leste go into Red Team's Protect?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying as well. See, honestly, I just have no idea. It wasn't really the wisest strategy, if I would be saying it. But Timor-Leste, I kind of have to wonder. I don't really think they should be more focusing on some of the rice picks, but it does lead Katyum giving them a nice break point. So they'd probably take anything at that point, really. So no, they're getting the next pick of the map. So it does look like they're going to be jumping into Rice number 7, which again, I could probably see why they'd pick it. It's Edison as well.
Oh yeah, we're gonna see Edison. So this should be pretty interesting. Just straight core jacks for everyone, and 3 phrases of it. I mean, Katyum trying to inch back closer into tying things up. Really do need this point, and even if they do win, Timor-Leste still has a pick before that. So, a lot of work to be done, and that's because Katyum, of course, dropping those 2 rice breakpoints really meant a big deal to them. So, pretty uphill climb for Team Red at the moment, but it's very much doable. I really do think that Jugmu and Rhythm Boy can lock in and set two really good scores on this map because they've shown potential. Sometimes they do tend to miss a lot, at least more so than Timor-Leste, but I think that the accuracy is there for them.
Yeah, totally. It's a considerably go anyway, if I'm being honest. See, the thing is, Korjak is just such a different skill set in turns compared to really anything else. More requires more of a different strategy to kind of get into a bit more. Especially with the misses as well. Kind of we can see a lot more dirtier drops in a lot of the Korjak picks as well. So consistency is definitely going to be key for a map like this, but it is fairly long though. So that kind of has me wondering how both these teams will perform on a pick like this.
I do believe that Timor-Leste did play the Korjak map of last round. That one was about 124 BPM, and it seemed like they were starting to struggle just a little bit. A couple misses here and there because of the Korjak rather than the difficulty around it. So it should be interesting to see how they do on Edison because from my knowledge, I think a lot of players loved in this tourney kind of despise this pick just because, it's a huge physical barrier, at least compared to last round. As one might argue this was probably the biggest jump in categorization. And so, Edison is a super scary pick, at least for, both teams.
Yeah, especially as you were saying that Timor-Leste were kind of... Oh, never mind. It doesn't look like they're going to be getting into Edison. It does look like they are going to be changing their strat a small bit and they're going to jump into Hybrid 1.
Yeah, really interesting that they used their timeout to change the pick. Seemed like, maybe they have ears in the sky and we're listening to us where, this is a very hard pick. But, this one seems a little bit better in my opinion. You just won Hybrid 2. Seems like you're really good in terms of the transitions and just like having Ellen mixed with the Rise difficulty at the same time. So carry me away. I think this is one of the best possible maps that they could have chose.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a lot better than picking Edison, if I'm being completely honest. So again, when winning Hybrid 2, you're kind of jumping in a bit more confident into Hybrid 1. So we're just going to have to see how this goes. Again, we are seeing our typical lineups, Judgmo and Chris and Sidger and Prongle for the Hybrid picks, along as we've seen with the LNs.
Yeah, and unlike XBOR from the last pick, this one tends to lean more towards Rise difficulty. I think that the streams are more abrasive, there's a lot more jacks, and just overall there's less LN difficulty. There's some, a little bit, but as you can see, look at those streams. Everyone basically being caught out with a couple of greats, and Prongle not doing too well, 97 compared to Chris's 98. But it seems like Sidger and Jugumu are kind of at a deadlock right now.
Yep, this map is very hard as well. Like, just looking at some of these streams, and as we are seeing as well, a couple of long jacks as well. Not really too easy. Chris, I do believe, finding a drop earlier in the map, but it was more relatively clean. And it was very early on as well, so it's not going to be too substantial. And these bursts are challenging all the players, really. Like, and yeah, Chris with the miss as well. But as I was going to say, a lot of players finding 200s, especially with Sidger and Prongle on that side. Prongle dropping another 100 as well. But meanwhile, just look at Judgment being able to kind of just eat all this up, really.
Yeah, I think, a lot of the jacks really caught out Chris, and that small little stream actually getting Sidger as well. So the first drop from them, Prongle still somehow holding the only FC at a 98.27 accuracy. Jugumu falling down, but still that lead is climbing for Team Red somehow.
Yeah, I definitely think it's just overall higher accuracy in general. Combo isn't really going to be much of a factor, especially now that Judgment has managed to get back up to the final max comp count. So as we just are getting into the outro of the map, it doesn't really look like there's going to be any substantial change, as Cat Yum are going to be snagging that next point.
Yeah, it seemed like Team Red was again very, very comfortable in terms of the transitions in and out of different sections. You know, they hit the log jack at the start, they hit the roll. I think Chris actually did miss once, but overall just very clean gameplay from them. Slightly better than Timor-Leste, so they are gonna be rewarded with the point. It seems like a comeback is in the making right now as they take two straight and look to make it a third. However, Timor-Leste with the pick right now have some options going for them. I mean, they do have, you know, an LN pick left. They have LN3 if they so wanted. But it, to be fair, it is cracked tracks, and I think there's just like that inherent physical barrier if you try to go into this pick just because of the speed involved in this map.
I definitely think Timor-Leste, actually they actually are going to be picking LN3, which is going to exhaust all the LN picks as well. And that only leaves one hybrid on the table then. So as you were saying, it is very physical LN map. So it might just push the barrier for some players. So we're just gonna have to see who's really capable of it and who's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting map to see where players switch out on because, you know, obviously with me calling it physical, you know, usually the appointed LN switch in for a lot of teams. You know, they only play LN for a reason. They're not too good in terms of the right scaling in later game, and I think you can usually see it in Chris and Proggle. So how will these two do on this map? I think that's the crucial point. Who can really hold their own on this map more so and provide that supporting score for Jugumo or for Sizer? And that's what's going to lead to whoever wins this map.
So yeah, as you are seeing from the intro, it's still starting on very abrasive and strong. Just finding that early drop. Again, as early, actually seeing a double wide drop. Katyam not really as comfortable on the intro compared to Timor-Leste. Actually catching out a lot of the players as well, as there's only one full combo left on the board as we're not even 30 seconds into the song.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty unfortunate that Jugumo took a couple of misses. I feel like they might have been like keyboard error or something like that, but no, it seems like they're struggling in terms of speed as well. And Chris finally dropping yet again, whereas Prongle has actually built up a combo. It seems like Prongle is doing the work, and Sizer really only being the player who can confidently play on this map. Seems like Timor-Leste have a huge lead of about 40,000 points, and we're only in the first half.
Yeah, it definitely just tells you how tricky this map is, especially at 220 BPM. Like, just these releases in general, comparing to the density, catching out a lot of players, especially Judgment and Chris finding that double drop again, gonna kind of hurt the score a bit more, especially as we do see two very high combos on Timor-Leste.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like the perfect storm of a map for Timor-Leste, and that's really leading into the highest lead that we've seen so far in match up to this point. I mean, 66,000 points. So Chris just struggling with the physicality and also combo in general, and then also Jugumu slightly struggling in terms of combo and also with the releases, taking a lot of 200s, whether that be early or late. Just a big disaster for Cat Yum, Dog Yum, and Timor-Leste finding themselves at match point. It is currently 5-3. Cat Yum having a lot to think about because this could very well be their last pick of the match. And even if they do win this last pick, Timor-Leste has one more to go for.
Yeah, not really the ideal situation for Katyam to be in, honestly. I more of think so that they would probably have to go for one more of the lighter picks instead of more of the physical ones. But however, with not much light picks left on the board, you just kind of have to wonder for yourself, what option do they really have to pick? And it does look like they're going to be going into Edison.
Yeah, I mean, we saw an inkling of it earlier before they had switched their pick to Hybrid 1, and we're finally going to see it for real now. The Korjak map, we already talked about it just a little bit, but I mean, what else is there to say? How will these players do physically? How will they hold up? 133 BPM is super fast, and it's a reason. There's a reason why this is a finals pick. How will these players do? Because I think that this map probably won't be close. I don't know who for, because I expect a lot of misses from almost everyone, but I just don't. I think whoever wins this will win by a large amount.
Yep. See, the thing, as I did say a bit earlier with Korjak, it's just a lot different compared to all the other skill sets. Not even in tournaments, just in general. Just kind of the position you have to be in to kind of play it at a level that you just can't mess it up. Especially as we aren't really well known to see how both teams are in Korja. I think Timor-Leste have played the last match with Korja, where you did say they were struggling a small bit on the 120. So it could go in Katyum's favor, honestly, especially with the BPM jump with 10 BPM. I don't think this is going to be close at all. And I do think our reps climb broke as well, unfortunately.
Thankfully, it seems like they are back and re-arcing the start match command, so we can get right into it. The all famous Edison Rhythm Boy actually has Tyrant No Soul as the background, strangely enough.
Uh, never mind. Here we go.
So starting off pretty light, obviously there is an intro to get through, very, very light jacks. And then we finally get into that first verse. Seems like everyone is holding up pretty decently. Drew the Master took a couple grades, lagging behind just a little bit in terms of accuracy. Same with Sizer. Cat Yum having that early lead. Drew the Master having the first drop of the map, and everyone else at combo cap clearing it just fine. Jugamu 99.76, whereas Rhythm Boy is about tied with Sizer. It's really the difference between Jugamu and Drew the Master right now.
And there we go. We got the first verse. The first part done. And, well, it's going to be basically the same for the second. So, as we are seeing now, as you do get out the first bit of stare off, Drew the Master a bit behind the 98.4. But with just a pick like this, your stamina also has to be key. Drew the Master, unfortunately, finding a big accuracy drop. Not really being able to keep up with the speed as we are seeing with the UR and the massive amount of grades as well.
I think this portion of the song has a bit more quads than the first one. And Jugu actually finding a drop, transitioning in. Sajir finally dropping, so no more combo on the side of Timor-Leste. Whereas Rhythm Boy holding the only FC. It's not pretty, it's at a 99.18, but it gets the job done. Is leagues ahead of either Drew or Sizer currently. So I mean, we kind of called it at the start, right, Nightcore? Whoever wins this map is going to win by a large portion. And we're seeing that right now, 100,000 points over for red team with only one more jack section in the map.
Yep. And I do think this does have... I think difficulty does kind of have a small increase as well here. As I did say, there are probably a lot more quads. A bit denser as well, some of the hand jacks as well. And yeah, again, Drew just kind of unable to keep up with the speed. And Rhythm Boy as well, finding that drop as well. I think that's all 4 full combos gone. But with just more drops coming from Timor-Leste side, as he did say, I do not think this is going to be close at all. And as we do approach the outro map, I don't think there is any more tough parts. So with that 175,000 point lead, it does seem like it is going to be going to Katyum.
For sure, this is a very calm ending. No more difficulty involved. Just a couple hundred free notes for you to get some score on. And I mean, Jugamu Rhythm Boy pulling out a very, very good win over Timor-Leste. Dominant showing from them on the core jack map. and Jugmu ending it with a 975 one miss, as well as Rhythm Boy one missing with a 960. So very scary scores. I mean, we I think we saw this map played in the last match, but just super good from Katyum, trying to claw back their way into a TB position. Timor-Leste with the last pick of the regular match is gonna go for hybrid three. We're gonna see Scotty's unravel. This should be a very fun map to see whether or not Timor-Leste can pull off yet another miracle upset, or if we get another tiebreaker.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting to see, as this will be Timor-Leste's last pick in general. This will determine if they are going to be punching their way into tomorrow's conditionals, or they will be potentially being threatened tiebreaker. So both teams are really just gonna have to be on top of their game for this type of pick, especially with the 3 minutes 52 as well. It's definitely going to be more of a test of your finger wear and stamina and consistency as well.
I think that this map is essentially a mini tiebreaker, right? You mentioned the length; it's almost 4 minutes. It's a hybrid, so maybe if Cat Yum win this one, it's a taste of what's to come. But for now, Sajin Prongo lining up to face Jugumu and Chris in this pick. It's a do or die situation. There are no more second chances for either of these teams, and Timor-Leste, as I said, looking to make yet another upset. Katyum trying to retain their place in the losers bracket. They got third seed in qualifiers for a reason, but they haven't been looking so hot now. And Unravel is really gonna show us, you know, who's made of what and why, one team can get into the grand finals, or at least have the shot, because there still is another conditional left. Prongo taking that first miss, and as well a lot of bad accuracy judgments to go with it, whereas Chris is hanging in just fine, actually.
Yeah, as we are seeing from this intro, it does favor towards Katyum, but again, with the map length, there is a bit of room for errors. So as long as Timor-Leste do keep their combo up, they will still have a fighting chance against Katyum, really. And here we are coming into the first course of the map. Prongle taking that additional drop as well. Not going to be looking good. Trading it back with Chris. Unfortunately, Prongle finding that double trade back as well. With just these jacks as well, and these shields, very tricky, honestly, to keep your consistency on. But it's just more judgment inside you. Kind of more having to face off, but with the accuracy lead by judgment.
Yeah, funnily enough, I was gonna mention the introduction of long jacks in the end of that chorus, as well as that chorus mainly being a lot of LN coordination. It seemed like Prongle just took a lot more damage than Chris did. As for the top side of the screen, Jugmu and Saijer still battling out with FCs, and Jugmu is winning that bout by just a little. We are getting the right hand funny inverse sections, and then that stream actually catching out Jugmu, transitioning out, and Saijer as well couldn't handle the left side coordination. So suddenly it's very scary for Timor-Leste. We have 22,000 points for Katyum, and a lot of funny release mechanics going on, as well as the trills. Here we go, the right hand trill. Everyone seems to hit it just fine, but the density is up and Chris cannot handle it.
Yep, it's just very tough overall of a map to act. And we are now so gonna approach that build up into the final drop, really. We're just gonna have to see how all these players do, especially with the difficulty sort of ramping up. Prongle finding that drop at the start. Actually, no, finding a two-way drop from Katyum as well, along with Prongle again, turning it with Chris. It's just still a very hard kind of pick more, especially with some of these long jacks as well. Kind of keeping the flow of the first drop as well. But we still have a bit of map left. Anything can still happen, especially with some of those LN long jacks as well. It's very tricky to act in general.
Yeah, I think there's really only one last section where there can be a couple of score swings, but it has to happen now, and maybe that's the start of something with Chris dropping, Jumu actually dropping, so no more FC on the side of Cat Yum, whereas we have a double full combo cap on Sidra and Prongle. So about 4,000 points have been made, but there's just so little map left. There's not that much. It's very calm, and I honestly think even with those two drops at the end, Cat Yum have sealed the tiebreaker.
Yep. This is our first tiebreaker we're actually getting into, right?
Yeah, this would be the first one of this weekend.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, hence Nuclear Star. Very good performance from everyone still. Like, that map is very hard, especially we've seen that no 99s as well. Still, we got close enough with Judgment to 99.86, but it's a very hard map. So good job for everyone on that. Here we go. Into the tiebreaker. Almost 5 minutes as well, which most people do know Nuclear Star. Whether you know it from, I don't know, Camellia, well-known Camellia map, well-known map in the community as well.
Yeah, I mean, super scary map. I think this is a very old Bringo Brango map. More people would probably know it from, I believe, 15th Elendan more than this Bringo Brango. I could be wrong. Either way, it is just an onslaught of so many things. There's a lot thrown at you. Lots of streams, lots of quad releases, lots of fast density sections, I believe, at 199 BPM. I think a lot of the players in here said that they hadn't practiced it, which is, totally fair, I think. A lot of players, especially in a match where you're C12 going as C3 or vice versa, you don't see yourself getting to a tiebreaker position. But if anyone in this match right now has practiced it, that would be such a big buff over your opponent.
Yeah, especially on what the map it really consists of. Like, it's more technical if I do remember correctly, coming with a couple of bursts, knowing kind of the layout of Nuclear Star in general. And I do think there are going to be long jacks as well in the map, so you're just really going to have to be on top of your A game, kind of to expect that.
So here we go, the final map of the match. Cat Yum looking to lock in their 5th point out of 6. They made a huge comeback from their disaster start. And Timor-Leste trying to get that win, trying to be a 12th seeded team that finishes in 5th place. I mean, it's already amazing from them. Actually, 4th place even. So super crazy performance already from them, but they're looking for more. They are not finished yet.
Yeah, honestly, just very good performance from everyone here. Honestly, for a tournament like this, I was not expecting most of these teams to come out with such great scores, honestly, from both sides. And everyone being fairly comfortable with the intro, especially as we've seen with the long checks at the beginning. But here we are, coming into the first drop. Riven Boy unfortunately finding a first drop at the release, turning it back with Prongle twice and Sidra, which is going to give the advantage towards Cat Yum. It's a very physical map as well, but a lot of trills that are catching a couple of players out, like Prongle again, and catching Sidra with a couple of greats as well. Prongle kind of dropping a couple of early greats as well. As we are coming in from Cat Yum as well, Judgment taking the current MVP with the highest accuracy in the lobby, 99.15 at the moment. Very comfortable with kind of more the streamy-ish picks. But now we have the first main part done, kicking into the second part now.
Yeah, that entire first part was essentially just jump stream with a couple of fancy bows on it. And it seems like Sidra and Prongle could not really hang as much as Jugumu and Rhythm Boy. Definitely helped by the fact that Jugumu still has the FC, even though Sidra has the highest AC in the lobby. And here we go with the techie breakdown. Lots of interesting jacks paired with crazy releases. Quad break from everyone. in the lobby. No one left to survive it. And I mean, this is probably one of the most techiest sections of the map. Not too surprised as to why everyone is dropping on it, but it seems like the lead hasn't really swung any way back or forth. It seems like Tatyum has basically been in line with Timor-Leste in terms of the drops that have been taken.
Yeah, gee, this tiebreaker is really something. Like, it is challenging all these players, really. And we have now finished the second drop, which was kind of more the technical one with some scary jacks and releases as well. But now here we are, after the front hand map, with Katyum taking that 33k lead right now. But we're kicking into the final half of the map. Very lengthy map though, so there is still room for error and anything can really happen. We're just gonna have to see now as we are gonna be approaching into the third drop.
Yeah, combos essentially the same for everyone. Everyone at the combo cap. And in terms of accuracy, Rhythm Boy has been really just a standout player for Katyum. I mean, it seemed like Jugmu had a very high combo to start it off with, but Rhythm Boy actually pulling ahead in terms of accuracy compared to everyone else. This section basically being a density-esque portion of the map, and it goes on for so long. Basically, the rest of the map, it's really tough. I mean, it seems like Jugmu and Rhythm Boy can handle this speed when it comes to LN, even though what's needed from Timor-Leste is one of those players to drop or even chain miss.
Yep. So, it seems that most players are fairly comfortable with that. Prongle unfortunately finding that break. But here we are, kicking into kind of what would be considered final part of the map. Couple of scattered graces. Rhythm Boy unfortunately finding a drop on him, but with not much map left, and with that trade back from Prongle, I think this is going to be the final nail in the coffin, really. With that 48k lead for Katyum, and with only just the light section for the map left, it does look like that Katyum are going to be snagging this victory, punching their way into the finals conditional, which meanwhile we'll probably have to be saying goodbye to Timor-Leste, unfortunately.
Yeah, Katyum closing the book known as Timor-Leste's fairy tale run. It was really fun to see them play in this tournament. They've made so many crazy comebacks, it's just shown consistency. They really showed why they are just really consistent tournament players and have been rewarded for it time and time again throughout this bracket. But unfortunately, when it comes down to it and when the pools get super physical, some of these higher seeded teams will beat you out on it, and that's what we saw right here. Katyum completing essentially what was a very large comeback, and they're gonna face Ryan and the Wongs in the finals for that guaranteed at least third place. So congratulations to Katyum, and of course, well played to Timor-Leste very much for putting their heart and soul into this tournament, because they really did have such a good run.
Well done to everyone. That was really just a masterclass performance performed by everyone as well. We've seen, from this match, we've seen some very close. We've seen some very close maps. First map was 400. No, 400 points.
Yeah, something like 400 points.
Yeah, it seems that both teams were extremely well balanced for some of the maps when it came together. Unfortunately, there is just going to be one winner for this match, and it does look like it is going to be Katyum, showing why they are seed free, honestly. But for Timor-Leste, nearly causing a seed upset as well, especially facing someone off like seed free, is still overall very impressive.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. It's a great match all around, but that is going to do it for us for today. That was the final match, of course, for Saturday. We have one more match for you guys, and that is going to be Katyum Dogyum versus Ryan the Wongs. I believe that is at Sunday 10 UTC, if I'm not mistaken, either 4 or 10 UTC. I forget which one. I'll get that info to you guys later. And of course, after that match, I should probably announce showcase time. That one is going to be at 20 UTC Sunday, so make sure you guys tune in both for that final match to see who gets in to the grand finals through the loser side, as well as see what we have cooked up for grand finals. But I'm gonna end it off here. Hope you guys enjoyed this match, and we will see you in the next one.
Yep, take care, everyone.